Joining us today is five-time Hong Kong champion jockey Zac Purton, ahead of what is probably one of the most anticipated races in Hong Kong racing's recent history, the Stewards Cup. Zac's ride, California Spangle, up against the champ, Golden 60, and the emerging champion, Romantic Warrior. Welcome to the interview, Zac. What I want to know is, you're known as I think they called you the chess master. Mark McNamara dubbed you that after the win in the Hong Kong Mile. Known for your tactical thinking. How much do you think about tactics? How much do you think about the races? Tell me about your mental preparation in the lead up to a big race like this.
The big races are generally a lot easier to assess, right? Because we have a lot of established form. We generally know how the horses like to race. And then it's just a matter of looking to see where the rail is and how the track might be playing on the day. But it's generally laid out for you and everyone's pretty aware of what's going to happen. But then you get in situations where it can become a little bit of a dogfight, right? So you have the rivalry of Golden 60 and Romantic Warrior, and then Romantic Warrior and Golden 60 and California Spangle, sorry. So going through the 4-year-old series, California Spangle and Romantic Warrior were sort of head-to-head, and you got to try and find a way to beat him, and then subsequent to that, California Spangle's come up against Golden 60. So when you're on the underdog, you've got to find a way to win, and sometimes it's just different barrier positions, different rail positions, different track bias. Other times it's adjusting the tempo of the races, tactically taking off at different stages, maybe waiting longer. There are a number of small different things that you can do just to try and, I suppose, put off the reigning champ and try and catch them by surprise to some degree. And, it doesn't always work, but I'm always happy to try something. So I generally form a plan and then go out there and execute it. And, most of the times the connections will give me their blessing to have that go because, if we don't try, we're not going to win anyway. So, you just got to try and catch them by surprise a bit.
The other day, I spoke to you and you were out hiking, when you're in your moments, I guess are you someone that obsesses about racing? Are you someone that, or are you more constructive when you think about the race and the plans? And you made a good point that there are 10 other races on the card. There are other races that you need to think about and do the form for and get ahead. But, are you someone that can put the thinking about this race aside, or are you always thinking about it in the back of your mind?
Yeah, so it's probably a double-edged question there. Generally, week to week, I don't think about the racing too much at all. Of course, there might be a young horse on the way through that I might be thinking about a little bit more because I'm excited to ride him, and when the barrier draws come out, I might have a little bit more of a squeeze at it. But generally what I do when the entries come out is, I just confirm the rides I have, and then when the barrier draws come out, I look to see what barriers I've drawn, and then that's it. I don't think about it again until the night before the races. I'll start to do a bit of form and then finish doing the form the morning of the races. But then you get the bigger races like the one we have on the weekend, the Derby coming up, the international races that have just gone by, and of course going into those races in the lead-ups and then in the week preceding it, I sort of already have an idea of how I want to ride them and how I think they're going to best be successful. But once again, I won't nail down what I really want to do until really close to the race.
Actually, you bring back a memory there. I remember you riding around the Sha Tin Parade Ring before a race where you'd drawn barrier, I'm going to guess, and I'm going to try and remember and say barrier 10. You'd drawn a wide gate, military attack, big weight in a Group 3. And you actually said out loud as you rode past a bunch of us, what am I going to do here? Now, I don't know if you knew what you were going to do here. What you did do was spring him out of the gates and lead and changed his whole trajectory of his career and brought out a new string to his bow. But I mean, is it that late? Could you be sitting on California Spangle in the minutes before this race behind the gates and think, you know what? I might spring a surprise here.
Well, that's probably what happened in that case, right? I remember that race. It was an 1800-metre Group 3 and I drew the outside. And yeah, I was going to go forward. The horse hadn't gone forward in any start in his career here in Hong Kong. And I was basically obviously just giving you the heads up. What am I going to do here to spark your interest and make you pay a bit more attention? Because I had that plan. That's what I was going to do. I was going to do something different. And I did it and it worked. And like you said, it did. That was a catalyst for him to go on that winning streak after that.
Let's talk about California Spangle and bringing that to now. I guess there's a few similarities. He's a horse that goes forward and you've taught him and educated him to do a few different things. Something you said earlier in the interview that is interesting, though, given that you're the Hong Kong Mile champion, you won that race on his merits. Yeah, it was a great ride, but the horse won the race. You're probably going to be the outsider here. I think.
It's interesting, right? I think I'll probably be second favourite. I think just because the horses I ride carry so much weight in the market, right? There's so much expectation that I'm just going to win every race that I go out there on, and a lot of horses that I ride start false favourites, and they're way shorter in the market than they should be. So I think Romantic Warrior is probably going to start favourite, and then the market's probably going to side with me over Golden 60, but I could be wrong. We had the lead up to the International Mile where I was on California Spangle, and at that time, Golden 60 and myself, we'd only gone head-to-head once, and he beat me by about 2 lengths. And my bloke started odds-on against the champ, and of course the champ beat me. So then in the International Mile, the market corrected itself, and people, instead of just looking at what horse I was riding, actually looked at the form of the horses, and then the market sided with Golden 60, and then I was able to pull out the surprise, of course. But I think the way this race maps from the barriers that they're drawn, I think it's good that Beauty Joy is drawn barrier 1, because then he's going to be locked away in on the fence. He can't make that mid-race move. He can't do something silly that he has been doing. So he's going to be stuck in his position. So I should be able to control and dictate this race. But Golden 60 is drawn just inside me, so he's probably going to sit on my back. And Romantic Warrior is right there as well. So I think we're going to race. They're not going to give me much of a start. They're going to be on my hammer, and it'll be a bit of a tactical battle between Vincent and Karras, because Karras will be looking to come across and possibly put Vincent to the fence. Vincent will be looking to stay one off and keep his horse out of trouble, as he likes to do. So they're going to have their own battle with each other within that first 200 to 300 metres, and I'll just be doing my own thing. So hopefully they're laying all over each other, taking the gas out of each other, and I'm just clipping along in front doing my own thing.
Tell us about the predicament that you've got with Tempo. It's a bit of a case of pick your poison, really. If you try and take it away from them and get it wrong and go too fast, these are the type of horses that can probably outstay you. If you go too slow and let them creep into the race and be beside you at the 400, they might be able to outsprint you as well. How do you find the middle ground? Is that the balance that you've got to strike here?
Yeah, I got to feel the track speed on the day as well. The track can sometimes ride a little bit faster or a little bit slower, so I've got to take that into account. But I just got to ride my horse as I feel suits him at the time. But my bloke's he's a bit tricky because he tries to wait for the other horses, which is why I think he's actually better when he's got something to follow or something to chase. But Tony obviously wants him to lead, and he's been leading for the majority of his career now. But he's tricky in that sense. So I would prefer when you send him, you squeeze him, I'd prefer him to gap them and get away from them. But he accelerates a little bit, and then he gets his head up and he starts looking and waiting for the other horses, which is really frustrating, because when they get close to him with a furlong to go, he can't pick himself back up and defend well enough. He obviously when he beat Golden 60, he had that nice margin, but he had a horse to bring him into the race. The other times when they've got to him quickly, he hasn't been able to fight them off. So, yeah, he's like I said, he's been a little bit frustrating because there have been a couple of times where I thought he could have given me a little bit more, but he's been beaten by some really good horses as well. So I probably shouldn't be that critical of him, but I would love to see him with something else to follow at some stage.
Let's just quickly talk about the Hong Kong Classic Mile. Patrick Treadmill is the horse that you've committed to for this race, but you have your eyes on a derby down the track at the end of the 4-year-old series. It's a one-race commitment to Patrick Treadmill. Tell us about. We've written a little bit about it, but tell us more about the decision-making process that goes into finding the right derby horse.
Yeah, so over the last decade, 10 or 12 years, I've always sacrificed the Classic Mile and to some degree the Classic Cup to try and pick which horse I thought was going to be best suited for the Derby to try and win the bigger race, knowing that the horse I picked might be beaten for a turn of foot or might be able to take the right position in the Classic Mile. And that's been the case. And then I've got to the Derby and I've run, apart from the time I won it, of course, I've run second and third in it basically every year for the last decade, barring one horse who bled and I pulled up. So this year I thought I'm going to approach it differently. I'm going to try and find a horse which I think is suited to the Classic Mile to give me a good chance to win it. And then I think all the form lines meet in the Classic Mile. Up until this point in time, the horses are coming into it from different directions, so it's really hard to line them up. But after this weekend, when the majority of the field raced against each other, the picture becomes very clear. So I'll assess how my horse goes. I don't think he's going to go beyond the mile, so I'll be looking for something else in the 1800 and then the Derby. And that horse will put his hand up for me anyway. We'll all be able to see it. And then it's just a matter of whether I can get on that horse going forward. Now, if it had been last year and the previous years, I probably would have committed to Beautyverse because I think he's a definite top 3 chance in the Derby. He lacks a little bit of a turn of foot, but he's going to run the trip. I like the way he relaxed last time. He's actually drawn a good gate this week, so he's a chance in this race anyway. But I think he's probably the best horse I've seen so far that's going to be suited for the Derby, and if I had to make an early decision, it probably would have been him, but I didn't want to commit for all 3 races, so they found another jockey, and we'll just see what happens.
All right. Thanks, Zach. Good luck this weekend, and good luck for the rest of the season. We'll talk to you again soon.
No worries. Cheers, mate.